Welcome back, everybody, to a Bag of Tricks. This is a podcast primarily dedicated to New World stuff. You're joined by your hosts, me, BagginsTV, and also here we have as well
Mr. Trickaroo. I don't know. I think that's what he calls me.
Mr. T and Mr. B. Yeah, we're back after a little bit of a hiatus. I think I don't know when I think it was just like the beginning of season 1 or just before when we last recorded. So we're a couple of months now, I think, into season 1. And generally, I'd say things have been going okay. There's been some complaints about the fire staff. It was getting a bit spicy in my stream earlier. Some people were saying, too OP, not OP enough, etc., etc.
Give it a cooldown.
Yeah, the flamethrower needs a cooldown and stuff. We also have some spicy topics today as well, some fiery topics to talk about, including a GEARSCORE reset as well. So I don't know if there's a particular area you want to jump into first, Trick, if there's anything you want to say regarding season 1 or stuff so far, or if we do just want to go straight into the deep end here and talk about the news. But
I think we should jump into the gear thing. I don't know how long that's gonna take, and I'm pretty sure that that's what mostly everybody wants to, listen to us, because there wasn't much to talk about season 1, right? Pretty much whatever we said in the previous podcast, it carried on to until today, because there wasn't a lot of content added into season 1. It was mostly weapon balancing and stuff.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. All right, well, we'll go in at the deep end then. So for context, if anybody hasn't heard yet, whether you're listening, we'll try and put a link in the description for YouTube and stuff like that for those of you who are live on the stream. Discord.gg/Play New World. This is the new official way that Amazon communicate information about in the game now. They've shut down the forums. You have to go to the Discord for info. Not the biggest fan of that, but it is what it is. In the Discord, they have this section called the Developer Corner, and they do Q&As. And we had a Q&A at the beginning of May, and there was a bunch of questions, a lot of questions people asked. And one which has sort of got a lot of attention was a question from this guy. So Token was the name, and I'm gonna read it word for word here, Trick. They said, will the new max gear score increase obsolescence of our current gear? Will our current 625 be upgradable into the new gear score max? So basically he's asking, are we going to be able to take the max stuff that we have now, the 625 gear score stuff, is it going to be upgradable into whatever the new max gear score increase? Because in case anybody doesn't know, expansion in New World coming in October, they're going to increase the max gear score. We don't know what the number is going to be yet. Maybe 650, maybe 700, something like that. But anyway, the response that we got from the dev was pretty spicy, okay? So again, word for word, the dev said, yes and no. 625 will not be upgradable to the new gear score max since new systems that adjust gear score will be coming later this year. More detailed information will be revealed in the future.
Right.
So there it is, Trick. That was it. Now, in my opinion, just one thing that I want to say straight off the bat is I feel like a small section within Discord to answer such a big question for the future of New World is man, I don't know, dude. I don't want to get this dev in trouble or anything, but I feel like that maybe that was not the best way to break that sort of news,
dude, 100%. So we read that question, and we read it many times, both the question and the answer, to see if we may, maybe a hidden meaning behind, the response. But the conclusion is it was too early to answer that question. Way too early to answer that question, especially with that response. They could have, go around a little bit and not give it so concrete. Nope, the gear that you have now will not be upgradable. Even if that is the direction they're going towards, it was not the time to give them that, that news to a lot of people, because it will discourage a lot of people. A lot of people don't have a lot of time to play the game, so they're like, wow, it's taking me 700 hours to get 2 pieces of armors. Now, by the time that I get the full pieces of armors that I'm looking for, boom, the gear that I've already spent so much time getting will be sort of irrelevant, right? A lot of people are saying that the gear is going to be wiped, it's going to be gone, it's going to be deleted. I don't think that is happening. But yeah, it definitely was a little too early for them to tell us that news, because what it did is it created a little bit of chaos within the community and a lot of fear that the people's progress will be out the window.
Yeah, I think at this point as well, I don't know if this does get in front of Amazon or whatever, the cat's out the bag now. I think you're just gonna have to come out and give as much information as you can. Get Daddy Dave in front of the camera and get him to talk about what exactly this is going to entail now, because people are speculating. They're going to be thinking everything that I have is trash, or I'm gonna have to throw away everything. I suspect that's not the case, because again, just imagine the idea of Amazon needing to go in and take every existing item in the game, from your Will of the Ancients, the Smooth Burning, the Legate's Ring, like Shadowed Blade or whatever it is, and make a new version of all of these unique bind on pickup items, like every single item in the game that can be upgraded to legendary. Are they all like not going to be able to go to the new max gear score? Like, what's going on there? Are we going to have to see them like implement like 1,000 new items to the game? Because that just seems insane.
So this could be done in one or two ways, right? They could go ahead and replicate every item that they have in the game with the current items that they're thinking about, or they could just forget about all of those items that are in the game, because 99% of those items are useless. Almost every single named item in the game is useless. And most of the gear that we have right now, it's not that the gear that we have right now, like supposedly the best gear that we have right now, it's considered best, but it's considered best to what we have. If you take this gear, like how this gear looks, the gear is not really that good. Everybody's using the same exact gear. Everybody's using the same 3 perks for PvP regardless of the class, right? Everybody's using Resilience, everybody's using Freedom, and then either Shuriken Fortification or Elemental Aversion. Meaning that it does not matter what class you play. You could be an Archer and you will still have those perks. You could be a Bruiser and you can still have those perks. Or you could be a healer and still have those perks. So there's no gear identity whatsoever. So in my opinion, the gear that we have right now, it's trash to begin with. And it has not changed almost in the past 1.5 to 2 years. So the gear that we have right now not only is bad, but why do people want to continue having the same bad gear on one? On top of that, gathering this gear is extremely bad. The system of getting gear in New World, the one that we have right now, it's terrible. The way that you get gear, the way that you upgrade gear, is possibly one of the worst systems that I've seen in any gaming. And the community has been complaining about this for a very, very, very long time. Why is there so much RNG in everything that we do? Right? It does not encourage people to craft. Why? Because sometimes they spend 500,000 up to 1 million gold to get a piece that is only probably worth 200,000 gold just because of how random it is. And then you have the other aspect of gear acquisition, which is mutations, right? You look at mutations, and mutations are supposed to be the most end game PvE content of the game. And right now, you could go ahead and do 20 M10s and come out of it with absolutely not a single good piece of armor. Every single mutation gives you around 50 to like 70 items that you loot through the whole instance. Every single one of the purple ones, you immediately dismantle it without a second thought. And then the legendary ones, almost every single one of them is also destroyed. So the gear acquisition and the gear that we have is so bad. And the reason it's bad is because you need definitely those perks. If you don't get those 3 perks, it's done. And if you can even get those 3 perks, but then the attribute has focus in it and you're like a dexterity user, gone. So that randomness of gear acquisition is terrible. It's bad. So what they could do instead of remaking every item in game B, they could just leave all of these useless items in game and not ever touch them again. And they can go ahead and make more consolidated items, and they don't have to make thousands and thousands of items. They can just literally make a bunch of items, a good quantity for every class that it will pretty much empower, or not even it has to be a class. It could just be different play styles, because right now there's not that many different play styles, because the perks of the gear that are considered best are pretty much the same. Either you use Shuriken Fortification or Elemental Aversion, Resilient never goes away, and Freedom has become staple pretty much as well. So yeah, they could go ahead, leave all of those useless items in the game that you can still upgrade them to 625, but the new and improved items, right? These guys are the one that you want. And to clarify something, the gear is not getting wiped. The gear that we have right now, you'll still be having it, you'll still have it in your inventory. On top of that, this new gear is not coming into 5 to 6 months from now. That is a lot of time. If you play every single day, that is so many hours of gameplay. Plus, getting the gear in the future, like they said, it won't be as hard. They will not be relying on RNG as much, right? They want to make bosses actually drop good gear. Gear acquisition should be through defeating bosses, while at the same time, a little bit of crafting. But right now, B, let's say that we both start New World, right? And we can both go into OPR and spend literally 1,000 hours in OPR. You could open all of your OPR boxes and get absolutely nothing. Well, I can open my OPR boxes and get 7 set of B's items. Why? No, that's not fair at all. Effort should be rewarded, right? If you spend as much effort as the other person, why does the RNG place more of a bigger impact than actually effort? And first of all, that is wrong. The same thing with crafting. You know, you could be a person that gathers so many resources in 2 months, and you try to craft something and never get anything. And then you have Timmy over here that started playing 3 days ago. He got fun on a bunch of gear, golden stuff. He rolls and he gets B stuff all of a sudden just because it's just RNG. So the gear acquisition is bad. Nobody likes it. The gear that we have right now is bad. Nobody likes it. And the way that we upgrade our gear now, it's bad and nobody likes it. So whenever they said, we're going to give you a better gear and a better way to upgrade this gear, and the people, instead of getting very happy about this, they got extremely upset. Why? Because they think that all of their effort, time, and sweat will be thrown into the garbage. But it's really not. We're just evolving. The game is evolving. And if you are thinking that you're going to keep the same gear for 2 years, you're just delusional. You know, you're crazy, B. And like you said earlier, having that mentality is not healthy for you or the game. If you're planning on having the same gear for the rest of your life, like, what is the point on even playing an MMO?
Yeah.
Go back to you, B.
I think this is another thing. I've seen like a bunch of people talk about it as well. So this whole concept of like, a rotation almost, like a new chapter coming into a game. I've seen this happen in a lot of other MMOs. I'm sure you have as well, where like an expansion will come in and there will be like new stuff to acquire. And sometimes that new stuff does rotate out the old stuff.
Right.
And honestly, it's a way to kind of keep the game fresh. Now, yeah, I see the pitchforks and I see people like, but my stuff, I get it. Like we did go through a lot of like frustration trying to get the gear, but that is, you've got to like increase your brain to the future and don't be thinking in the narrow world of New World right now. Think about the New World of tomorrow and how much better it could be. But it's like, yeah, maybe this is going to be a necessary sacrifice. Like we have to give up the current systems right now, so the new systems, which are going to objectively be so much better, can exist. Now, again, yeah, for sure, it was way too early to break this news, and it is like really putting a dampener on people. And it's kind of weird to think like we're gonna get the Sandworm raid coming out probably in the next couple months, right? And is the Sandworm raid gonna have good gear that you can get from it? I hope so, man. I hope it's not just gonna be a bunch of like RNG randomly generated trash with like indestructible and like a shirking arcane weapon and a bunch of crap like that. Fingers crossed, it's actually gonna be good gear, but then. If this raid is as hard as they say it's going to be, like the devs have been saying, like, oh, we're going to make this raid so difficult, we're not going to be able to do it, which, it's questionable. Does that make it actually that difficult? Because I've seen the devs try and do it at Chester and in Merc God, but regardless, if this raid is going to be really difficult to clear, and then you finally get the rewards from it, and those rewards then just going to be thrown away, I get that does kind of leave like a bad feeling, a bad taste in your mouth, but ultimately, it's good, dude, because it's just gonna get stale, man. This current system of the game, it's like you say, we can replace the metaphor. It's either we both do 100 games of Outpost Rush, or we both have 500,000 gold, or we both do 50 M10s. What the rewards that we get at each end of those, like the gear that we get, it's just RNG. With the crafting, I could get really lucky, or you could get really lucky. M10s, I could get really lucky, or you could get really lucky. Outpost Rush, I could get really lucky, or you could get really lucky. You could sit in Outpost Rush and just like attack one person and then go AFK, right, and get you box of loot at the end. Whereas I could be just popping off and holding mid and doing rotations and clutching the steal on the Baroness. But the box that you get and the loot you get from the box is still the same every single time.
Yes, sir.
And the same with mutations. I could do my bronze difficulty 10 depths run of hell that I did today with a pug, and we make it in an hour, and then the chest that I open at the end are just as good as if we clutch that in like 15 minutes or whatever. The loot is still the same. There's not really a reward for skill, it's just a reward for being completely lucky, and it's kind of dumb. And I think that's why people get so upset, because it's just frustrating. You just bash your head against the wall and eventually you get lucky and you get the 3 good items. And yeah, that's another good point as well. Like, you think about S tier gear, like what perks do you want on your armor and your weapons? There is like a very slim line of perks.
Limited,
It's like
yeah.
basically like 4 or 5 perks, and then everything else into that just falls under the line of like kind of bad to really bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, having a bit more of a depth, like a wider pool of perks to choose from that are actually going to be good and
Powerful
relevant.
perks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We need it,
also-
dude. I don't know. It's good, man. I'm looking forward to it. Also, one thing that I'm kind of looking forward to, and this is maybe it's a bit of a weird one, but I look in my storage shed trick, and I've got so much stuff in there. Like it's just filled with junk, and some of it's like kind of okay.
Yeah.
And I can't throw it away because maybe it'll be good one day. The idea that I could just chuck all of that away and start again with like new perks and like
Yes.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
I'm looking
just-
forward to it, dude.
Just so think about this, B. We've been asking for like, can we please have a storage and search bar so we can put physical version? It shows me all the pieces. They're like, listen, we're not gonna add that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you, instead of 1,000 pieces, only 5 of them are good. That way you can only need to look at no, B. But with this new gear addition and way like making it more accessible for people to get it, also helps newer players, because right now if a newer player comes into new world and they want to catch up, bro, they need to do so much. First of all, if they want to catch up by doing via mutation, they need to get all their gear to 625. They need their trophies, and if they want to do crafting, then they need to get all of their trophy materials, their houses, all of the crafting gear, and then all of the resources. So it takes them such a long time to begin to be able to get the gear, because that's not even the gear. You're just beginning to get the gear, and then once you go through all of those obstacles and all of those check marks that you have to do, it falls into RNG that you don't really know if you're gonna get it or not. That is just demoralizing. That is bad. Now, if you were to have, let's say that you playing mage and they released a new system where like, listen, this boss will drop you this piece of armor from this dungeon, then the other dungeon will drop you, and you're like, okay, if I do this dungeon, then I have this piece of armor, and then next week I know that if I do the other one, I will have that piece of armor. And you can pretty much build a full set just via dungeons. And obviously this piece of armor should come from mutated versions, right? Meaning that you cannot go and get it from normal and be fully pissed out, because you can go ahead and do all the dungeons in one day and get it all. We get mutations every week. We get 2 of them. You're like, all right, this time I have Genesis and let's say Tempest. All right, from Genesis, I know I get a pretty good fire staff, not the Firebind battle staff. No, that's not a good fire staff, right? And then from the Death, I get like boots. And then next week, if we get like Lazarus, I know I'm getting the gloves from Lazarus if I do it hard enough, But right now, you could do a Lazarus a million times, trying to get one piece of armor, and you never get it. You just never get it because effort is not rewarded. It's just complete RNG-ness. And they could also do something that nobody has ever talked about it. How about set armor, right? Because like I was saying earlier, right now, we don't have any class identity. Everybody uses the same perks with the exception of, okay, if you're a healer, you gotta use like a mending more protection in one of your pieces of armor, or divine embrace. If you're a mage, then you're gonna use fireball, and then you're gonna use like pillar of fire. But that is not really class identity, right? If they're going to make set that if you got 2 pieces of the fire lore set, for example, right, or your fire spells do like 15% more damage. That is if they want to make it into like elemental type of things. That way it's not like super class specific. But if we know that if you have like a fire set, anybody can really use it. You can be a melee player. You put fire gems on your gear. You put fire gems on your weapons, and you use the fire lore set. And now you are a fire melee player. But they could go a step further and make it class a specific tier like sets, right? Like if you had 2 pieces, now your fireball has a 1 meter longer explosion. If you're a healer, if you have 2 pieces of this healing set, your sacred ground will be 2 meters bigger, or something like that. And it cannot be just one set of healer. It could be different set of healer for different abilities. That way you're like, oh wow, look, that is a sacred ground healer, or wow, look, that is a divine embrace healer, right? Because right now the only difference between a single target hitting and an AoE healer is the abilities that you pick. The gear pretty much remains the same, for the exception of that 1 or 2 weapon perks. So the gear is super stale for every single class, no class identity whatsoever, and I think that is pretty boring.
Yeah, no, I think set pieces would be really cool. Yeah, like 2 pieces of a piece of gear gets you a bonus, 4 pieces gets you a bonus or whatever.
Right.
I do have my concerns. Like, I mean, we kind of saw the introduction of this. I think it's supposed to create more class diversity with the idea of heart runes and rune glass gems, because there's like technically a lot of different rune glass gems. You can take one of the 9 different gems and then put them in one of 9 different rune glass cases, but it just turns out that everybody ends up kind of just using the same sort of rune glasses.
Exactly.
and the heart runes, it's like, oh, you have the cunning, the stalwart, and the brutal, but like 90% of people just use like the brutal one or whatever. And stone form is always like stalwart. So I do have a concern that when they add this into the game, that it will just, the meta will be that people will just go towards that one thing, even though there is objectively more stuff out there. But then that just comes down to Amazon's got to like better balance it.
Better
and make
balancing, exactly. Yeah.
But but then that falls to another problem, which we were talking about earlier, of like, if a weapon is kind of like a little bit OP, is it better to nerf that one weapon or try and raise all the other stuff up to it? Obviously from a work standpoint, it's easier for them to just like change the one thing rather than bring everything up. But yeah, I don't know, dude. I think like to bring it back to like to nip it in the bud with this conversation, or at least to tie a bow on it and make it clean. What we're saying is the gear reset system. The reason why it's like not too upsetting to you or me is because we almost have faith. Like it's got to be the case that if they are doing this sort of pseudo reset, it's because a new system is coming in to replace the old one. I agree. If it was more of the same, if they were just like, hey, you've got to get Bumbrel shards now instead of Umbral shards, and you can only use them on items acquired after the patch, but the gear acquisition was almost entirely the same, that would be ridiculously stupid.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, it would just be like, hey, you get ready to do the same thing you've been doing again now, but to a slightly higher number. Yes, I would agree. That would be insane. And I think that's what people get angry, because they do think that's what's going to happen. It's just going to be more of the same with a slightly different twist. But I think we just got to remain optimistic here that the expansion is going to introduce some big, better, much smoother systems. And ultimately, it's going to be a really good point to jump back into New World, because you don't have to go through all of the previous hassle. It's just going to be a nice, clean slate to start again almost. One thing I was saying, though, Trick, in the meantime is, and I think we talked about this on the podcast before, can we please like do something with the faction stores? Like, why not just put a baseline, some 590 gear score stuff in there? Get some resilient freedom gear in there.
Yes.
Just 2 perks, doesn't have to be 3 perks. Get some corrupted ward refreshing, get some ancient ward refreshing, just 590 gear score stuff that you can buy just to get you on that ladder. Because it's like you say, you have to like grind to then begin grinding to then begin grinding even more,
No, it makes complete sense. Actually, they should get the gear that we have now that is considered piss and put that in the PvP store. Also, another part of the community that is upset about this gear thing is the fact that they cannot upgrade their gear to 650. It's like, wow, it's basically useless if I cannot upgrade it to 650. I was like, well, gear score has never been really an issue outside of PvE. Because for PvP, if you're 600, you're pretty solid. And if you tell me that you cannot beat a 625 because you are 600, that is not true. That is skill. That is literally a skill different. Unless you take the 625 and you leave them with like 3-4% HP, and you'll be like, all right, if I had 625, that would have been an easy dub for me. But if right now you beat a person in purple armor in 600 against 625, it's basically the same concept between 625 and 650. All we might be getting is like an extra 8 stats, because whenever you upgrade the gear, you get like an extra stat. And the gear score really doesn't matter unless you're doing PvE, because PvE really forces you to have that exact number of gear score, right? So people are like, well, if I can upgrade my PvP gear from 625 to 650, that is basically a wipe. No, I don't think so. I don't think that the difference between the gears is going to be the gear score. It's going to be more like the perks that the new gear is going to have. Because like I put it into example, right now you can beat a very shitty player with 625 half naked in 600 gear score. If you're better than that person, you will definitely beat that person. Gear score has never changed the tides of a battle. So for me, what is making the biggest difference is going to be the perk that this new gear is going to have. And the people that want to play with the gear that they have now, they 100% can. Nobody's telling them not to, and if they're like, oh, they're taking my gear. No, they're not. The gear is going to remain there. You use it if you want to. The only thing is that, and first of all, you're not gonna get the brand new gear in one afternoon. It's gonna take you weeks probably to get, the new sets. And what gear you're gonna be using in the meantime? You're still going to be using the old gear. Like the wars that are going to be happening, you're still going to utilize the old gear. It's not that you're going to be losing wars now because you cannot upgrade your gear to 650. That is just ludicrous. It makes no sense. People complain about gear score, makes no sense. People complain about their gear getting wiped, makes no sense. Like most of these things that people are crying about, they're not really like reasons for you to be that upset. I understand it might be a little upsetting, but it's not really a reason for you to stop playing the game. It really isn't a reason, and it's not a reason for you to stop like getting getting better gear from now until it happens, because it's still many months until it happens. And even after it happens, it will take you a couple of weeks, maybe months, for you to get that gear.
Yeah. Although, dude, I do hope that they, like with this GEARSCORE increase, I don't know what's gonna happen from the PvE standpoint, but right now it's like, man, like every time there's a new mutation cycle, I gotta go like dig through my storage shed because I literally don't have enough gear sets to store all this junk. Because I got the Lost Ward, Ancient Ward, Human Ward, Corrupted Ward, Afflicted Ward. It's like, so the idea of needing to farm out a full set of ward gear again. But again, it's like I'm stuck in this mindset that it's going to be the way it is now. Like, man, it has to. Surely, it's got to be right. The copium. That getting these like 16 different ward sets is going to be like much more acquirable and easier with the expansion.
Here,
surely, right?
Yeah, surely. But here, I will give you an example. Would you rather get another war gear and upgrade it with the same system and now have like 7 different war gears, or if they were to add a gear that is global ward, like PvE ward, and that you have to obtain that gear from 0 and then upgrade it to 650 with a new system, would you rather do that or keep getting different ward gears every other expansion or every other patch and having to get it to 625 over again?
Yeah, 100. Yeah, for sure, man. I'd trade it. Like if Amazon said like, all right, you're gonna throw all your ward gear in the bin, but we're gonna consolidate it into just ward, which is we're gonna remove the bit at the front of it, corrupted ancient human, we're just gonna call it ward. I'd be like, yeah, all right, I'm down. Like, for sure.
Yeah, I don't care.
Give it to me right now.
Yeah, you can throw the other gear in the trash. I don't care. Just go ahead and throw it. Why? Because the one that we have, it is just significantly better, and it's just, I think it's just an improvement of the game, of everything, and if you got comfortable to the things that you were using and you don't want to get out of that comfort zone just because you were already set, again, that is not the right way to look at things. Just because you were using Windows 2000 for many years, whenever Windows XP or whatever the new Windows came out, you're like, I don't want to use the new window, I like the old window better. Yeah, but for how long, right? The new window is going to have better updates. The whole operating system is going to run better. So you can still stick in your old ways and you can use it. But for how long do you want to be stuck using the old shitty gear?
I don't know if I'm just being too cynical though, but part of me is like the fact that they, they recently introduced another set of ward gear with the human ward, and also one of the ways conveniently trick that you can manage having all this different gear sets is the paid loadout system. So you can buy the loadouts to better manage the mess of the inventory system that Amazon's created. What a convenience! So if they did consolidate the ward, that would free up like a bunch of slots for me, so then I could
dude, think about that.
So that would impact their sales. So I don't know, dude. So on the topic of Amazon making money, by the way, it was an interesting conversation I had this morning. The expansion, right? So this is the first time Amazon is actually labeling an expansion. If you guys haven't seen on the roadmap, it's go to the February update, newworld.com. In season 3, they have confirmed season 3 also coincides with the expansion, and they officially labeled it an expansion. So Brimstone Sands, Amazon never actually called it an expansion. I think we did a few times because they expanded the map, they expanded the number of weapons, but Amazon didn't call it an expansion. This time they are calling it an expansion, and it has been a precedent in various other MMOs. I think World of Warcraft most famously, where you pay for the expansions being added to the game. Do you think Amazon will charge for this expansion trick? Do you think they will do it? And what's your opinion whether they do or don't? I mean, what's your take on this?
I mean, I don't think we should. I honestly don't think we should pay for the expansion, because they're not adding any expansion things. Like whenever you see an expansion, right? Like if they would have charged for Brimstone Sands, it would have made more sense. than charging for, because they doing is like a map rework, you know, like which is gonna be the First Light or like Morningdale, right? They're adding obviously the new hard rooms and new dungeon, but it's not the amount of content that they're adding. It does not justify another like $30-$40, you know. And I honestly don't think the game will change much, like you know, like play wise, like play, you know, the play style of the game. All of this changing is probably, you know, the gear and stuff. So yes, they're calling it an expansion, but they're not really expanding. They're pretty much reworking. I mean, if they're expanding, it's just like a new hard rune and, you know, maybe like the new dungeon. But is it really those new things worth paying for a whole new expansion? Plus, I don't think the new world is in a position right now to ask for a paid expansion. They haven't, because they haven't provided to the community like good quality content that the people are looking forward to and willing to pay money for. Because right now, especially in the past 2 weeks with the iteration of season 1, the game's performance is being utter chaos. We have more desync now than we have ever had, probably like in the past year and a half. There's so many bugs and glitching happening now. We are harvesting freaking orichalcum and we are mining freaking herbs. Like the game right now performance is like so bad. So unless they actually make it worth it of, you know, paying money for, then I wouldn't see why they would charge us for an expansion that is not really expanding the game and it's not increasing the quality of life also.
Yeah, I agree. Thedron in the chat says they ask money for a battle pass. They will definitely ask money for an expansion. No, I don't think so. Like, here's one way to look at it, right? There are like millions of people who own a copy of New World. Like New World sold millions of copies during its release. Like you know, you look at the concurrent play account at the highest it was like 917,000. That was the number of people who were all online at the same time. So the number of people that probably logged in that day, like I say, millions. So Amazon's goal, I've got to imagine, is not to try and get to more people to buy, but just to get those people who already own a copy of the game to just come back in and check it out. Because then they can sell them the season pass. Then they can sell them the probably transmog tokens by that point. They can sell them a cool mount skin. You know, you get a sick mount with a saddle. All the other monetization features with the season pass and with the boost tokens and stuff. So yeah, for me, I've got to imagine Amazon's play is like, all right, we get people back in. We don't charge them for a game again. One, because the game, you're right, doesn't have the reputation for that.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I think it would be such a ballsy move to ask for them for the expansion to be paid. I think you got to try and get players back in and then monetize from there. Right. You know, I don't know if you're the same trick, but for me,
100%.
The games that I have spent the most amount of money on is like free-to-play games. Like I've always spent like the most money on a game that's free-to-play as opposed to a paid game. Plus, so that's the model. And Amazon's gonna be looking at these. You know, they got Throne and Liberty, they got the Blue Protocol. What else? Lost Ark as well. Dude, they probably make like a killing from Lost Ark compared to New World because it's free-to-play.
Yeah. So. And the other thing, if like you said, if you are, because how many reasons has New World AGS given you to quit the game in this past 2 years? Countless. Yeah. Countless of reasons for you to quit the game. So if they give you a reason to return back into the game and they're like, all right, but you need to pay us, half the people will not even care. They will demoralize, like, wait, you want me to give your game a second chance, but you want me to give you money to give you a second chance? I don't even know if I'm gonna like it or not. I don't even know if it's gonna have the same bugs or glitches that, you know, were there when I quit. So any of those people returning will be like, nah, I'm not gonna pay again. Because if I can go read the forums, well, actually, they're not longer there, but I can go and ask somebody, is the game significantly better now than it was before? Some people will tell you yes, and people will be like, I don't know, it's still same to me. I wouldn't pay to go back to a game that it will feel pretty much the same, unless they literally revamp the whole, which they won't, because they will have to use a completely different engine. And can we both agree that probably most of the problems that happen in New World is because of the engine?
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. I mean, you know, it's like officially like heard from people who are directly involved with New World that, you know, they didn't say it in so many words, and I'm not going to say who said it, but they were like, They said we have a problem with New World where sometimes we change things and unexpected things happen.
Yep.
Like, I mean, it's spaghetti code is basically what this individual was saying. You know, they could like go into the make an update for the game where they add like, all right, we're gonna give everybody like 5% more health, and for some reason it makes everybody move 20% faster when they're in a certain area of town or whatever. Like completely things that you wouldn't think would be even remotely related.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, so you cannot charge. You honestly, they should not charge money for. Now, if this expansion is actually a banger and they show promise that the game can evolve and become significantly better, yeah, I wouldn't doubt they charging money. But I mean, they are charging monies for gear sets, right? They're charging money for season pass. If they eventually add like a barber shop or something like that, they will add, charge money for barbershops. If they add like you can change your name, they need to charge money for you to change your name. You need to charge money for you to change servers. I think they already have a lot of monetization, and let's not even talk about the store. The store where they cycle it every other month with new skins and new things that they're adding. So they have so many ways that they're already monetize the game. I don't think that charging for an expansion that should bring people back to try the game and give it a second chance should be charged. I think that is not a smart decision. The same as it was not smart for them to tell the community that the gear that they have right now will not be upgradable to 650 like half a year before that happens.
Yeah, they really shot themselves in the foot with that one, man.
Imagine telling the whole world population, hey, 5 months from now, we're all dead. There would be utter chaos, like looting, raping, murder. Everybody would just do crazy things because they know that in 5 months, everything that they did in that 5-month period, it would not matter. So they jumped the gun in giving that response so vague, and they also jumped the gun in answering that question in such an early state of development when we don't really even know that I don't think they have the full system finished, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think they're still working on it, and that's why it's coming in the expansion and it didn't come any sooner.
Yeah, dude. Well, speaking of things that are coming sooner, Trick, next week we got the Fury of the Spriggan event. This is going to be the final event to see us out of season 1. I don't know if you got a chance to check it out in the PTR. Or what do you think of the Fury of the Spriggan, Trick? Are you excited for this event?
Not
so
at
far.
all.
We've had the Springtide event, and we've had the Corrupted Bunny event. I'm gonna be honest, I feel like the events of season 1 have been a bit stinky. I don't know, dude. It's not been the most exciting content. Springtide looked like it could have been cool because some of Medley Fire and Winter was like fun the first time around, but my god, the Springtide Bloom event is just like, oh dude, wow, you kill wasps and you get the flower.
Yeah. Dude, the hardest part of the event is that guy standing next to the flowers.
Oh yeah, just go, I get the flower, and then he gets stung. It's like, oh, I get the flower, and you just like move out the middle,
Just
dude.
move.
Let's just kill the wasp.
Yeah, sometimes it's better to just move to a different flower rather than keep on getting that one. And then, so I will say the rewards are not bad. I will say the rewards for the flowers is pretty good. You get the skin, you get the housing items, and also you get the blueprints, right? Which those are pretty good rewards. But then, and I don't know if this was a smart thing to do. They started giving us a tremendous amount of resources to buy these rewards. And now people are sitting with thousands and thousands of blueprints of every single one of them. Like, I'm sitting with I have so many things. I don't know what to do. So they made the event boring, and then they made the event resources acquisition extremely fast. So, here, if you don't want to do this boring event, you can just do it one afternoon, get everything that you need, and you're done with it. Like, it has no replayability because you get the rewards pretty much in one afternoon. And even if people will want to do the replayability of it for the rewards, it's just a boring event. And by looking at the Spriggan event, it's just gonna be another General Crassus, right? Where you're it's gonna spawn in different parts of the map. You go there, you 20 people, you kill them, you get shitty rewards. I don't know if you look at the rewards, but they're pretty shitty. And there's nothing in there that is enticing to get. Why? Because no named item that they will drop. Oh, also, they were like, I think like the best thing you can get out of it is, I don't think they're releasing any skins, but they were like, oh, you have a chance of getting a global named item. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah, the named
Oh.
item pool, which has historically been incredible in New World
Yeah,
because there's so many good named items out
dude,
there.
yeah, all of them are good. It's like, wow, I'm so excited for getting, I don't know, freaking Isabella's rapier.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think they do have a named item pool specific of stuff with like Angry Earthbane and Angry Earthward, which is probably
but
gonna be pretty good to pick up for like Genesis. But yeah, outside
they
of that,
but they said that these items, the named items that we get from the Spriggan, are the same named items that we get from the Spriggan Arena. So you just get a higher chance of getting the named item, which is the Mossburn, whatever the name is. So the named items that you're getting from the Spriggan event are the named items from the Spriggan Arena, which the Spriggan Arena has a very low chance of dropping them to you. You have to do a bunch of them and then open the chest so you can get a chance of getting those. They're like, oh, we're gonna give it to you, but those items are, first of all, nobody needs those items anymore because anybody that wants to do Genesis, they already have their freaking Genesis war gear. So again, man, these events are focused for the newer player and not the veteran players, because the veteran players get very little, close to nothing out of any of this, any of these previous events, because the items are not good and the skins is something that you're like, oh, okay, yeah, the skin, nice, cool. I got turkey legs, very nice.
we should like just in case anybody doesn't know, if this is your first event, like a world boss event, effectively there's these designated areas. It's kind of lame because it's always the same areas on the map. You'll do some sort of prerequisite. In this case, you have to light some fires with some ironwood. Once you light the 3 fires, you kill a few mobs in the middle, and then the boss spawns, and everybody takes down the boss. Now, the problem is, one of two things usually happens. Either nobody turns up, and it's impossible to do on your own, or half the server turns up, and it's just a laggy sort of fest, and you don't put in any effort. You just stand there, click mouse button, and then it dies. That's it. That's usually the way to go. And then you get the rewards, which quite often are quite underwhelming. But at the same time, if they made the rewards really OP, then you would still have the problem of like you've done something for minimal effort. So I don't know. For me, I think these events, they either need to make them instanced, or I feel like it needs more. Every world boss event so far is it's somewhat copy paste of the other one. I think the Halloween boss event was kind of cool just because you threw the pumpkins at him. It was pretty fun. But outside of that, most of these world boss events just feel like a slightly different change of what it has been in the past.
But I mean, if we look at the Halloween event, right? How was the Halloween event different than some of this? The first thing I would say the Halloween event did good is like players actually need to interact. You couldn't just damage the boss. You needed to get the pumpkins, throw it at the boss. Then you had the damaging phase. Then there were some AoE abilities that everybody needed to be careful with them. And then you also had a storyline attached to that. The one that you did with the dude, and you need to bring the pumpkins into the cauldron and drop them there. And then they release a brand new set of armor and weapons that had unique features to them. Unique, force perk. Like, you remember how many people got their best light staff because of the blessed light staff. And it had amazing skins. It had very cool looking housing, items. So it gave the people that didn't want any items, and gave them the skin. The people that, that didn't have gear, it gave them the gear. And the people that wanted a good interacting fight, it gave them the good interacting fight. So it was 3 pretty good things that they did, right? Now you look at the freaking the frozen Yeti burn event thingy, right? It's the same brute that we've been seeing for years now. The same brute freaking model that they haven't changed. Every new big creature, I was like, oh, a brute. Why change it? Balthazar was completely different. It was a flying dude with gigantic wings, it kind of resembling Isabella, but at least Isabella is not, used in every part of the game.
Yeah.
And then the winter event was the most boring fight ever. Half the time, we will get stuck in the middle of the players, and then you will look at his forehead, and his face will be full of arrows. And then you have half the people AFK, the other half people dead. You will kill them, and you will get some frozen shards. Say sometimes you got 1, sometimes you got 3, and you needed to do that 50 times. You wanted to buy something. There was no cool looking skin. There was no cool looking fight. And the armors and the weapon looked pretty much identical to the other ones. There's like nothing good out of that event. And then it looks like they're doing the same exact. They did the same thing with Crassus, and it looks like they're doing the same exact thing with this event. So we definitely need better fights. You cannot just put a big dude in there with very little, like no mechanics, and expect people to be happy on killing the same boss over, and because that is what it becomes. It becomes a grind. All right, we have 30 people. We're going from Morningdale to Evanscale, then Evanscale to Rigwater, from Rigwater to Brightwood, and it's a full train. After the third fight, pretty much everybody's burned out. They don't want to kill them anymore. They're done with the event. And then if they don't have anything to look forward to, like a badass skin or like a trophy or like a housing item or like a very specific weapon that they're looking for that they're going to craft, then for me, it's a waste of time. It's a wasted chance for an event.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. I agree. I think it's like the fact that these events like typically last for like a month as well. It's just it's not really enough content. Like on the baseline, just the event isn't really that exciting, but especially for a month long of the event, yeah, dude. Yeah, indeed. Do you think though? I mean, comparing it to all of the events of season 1, which is the best and which is the worst? Like preemptively, if you had to try and rate them, Trick, the Corrupted Bunny event, Springtide Bloom event, and this Fury of the Spriggan, which is the best, which is the worst?
I would say the Corrupted Bunny.
Yeah, that was your favorite?
Yeah, look how many people were in the open world. Everybody was on the roads. You're like, bro, I didn't even know people knew about this place. Everybody was all over the world. You will see people at least fighting bunnies. And right now in the flowers, you know, it's pretty much the same locations over and over again. Not little competition because everybody that participate gets it. Even if you didn't do anything, all you had to do is put a bomb there. So you do this event like half AFK. Somebody at work can do the whole event and get full rewards out of it. Which I like that some events does not require any team effort for you to do, because if we look at the Spriggan now, right? What would happen to a dead server? What would happen to a server that doesn't have that many people, and then like the whole server doesn't actually get to do the event? And whenever you make an event that requires 20 gear sort of people to kill these things, it kind of puts an obstacles on a lot of players. Like, bro, we don't even have 20 people in the server. We cannot even do OPR, yet you want us to freaking, you know, go around the world killing mobs that half of these people don't even have the gear. So whenever you also put big bosses like that with an X amount of players that is required, if you're gonna make big bosses like this, you should make them balance around the amount of players that are nearby the monster, right? If you have a group of 5, you can kill them. The mob has like, let's say 1 million. Yeah,
it needs to scale. Yeah,
exactly. Sure. It needs to scale. That way a server with 20 people can do it, while a server with 100 people can also do it.
What I will say, quick takeaway from the events, if this episode goes out and the Springtide Bloom event hasn't ended, I think it is worth jumping in just to farm it for like a few hours, get enough tokens to get the skins and emotes, and also you can get some of the legendary crafting pens. They have a fairly high likelihood they'll give you resilient, refreshing physical aversion, which I think you would say, Trick. If you're like as entry level PvP gear, it's okay, right? That's like not bad to slap on, right?
Even end game PvP, a lot of people haven't seen the full potential of like a full physical aversion, refreshing set, and resilient. Which, by the way, is extremely easy to get a full set. I got the full set the other day with like 3 or 4 craft of each and one of those. It's basically free. And let's say if you're like if you're like a mage, if you're like an archer, if you're like a musketeer, if you're like a healer and you're playing in wars, right? Most of the damage that you get from, you know, if you're like a mage just sitting in the ramparts or sitting in the back, is usually come from bow players, right? So having a full set of physical aversion, refreshing, so that way you can keep on pumping abilities, you know, fireball, pillar of fire, flame, you know, meteor showers, the blizzards, or if you can pump heals or whatever. Having a full set of physical aversion with refreshing and resilient for a artillery glass cannon build is pretty nice, because most of the damage will be either musketeers or archers, since mages cannot really kill anything that is ahead above them because of the, you know, the circular ability things. And that is also another thing that is quite annoying, man. Hitting like a pillar of fire on an enemy that is above you is so difficult, as you know, in comparison to like a direct hit. And you can see that even in arenas, the little ramparts that are in the arenas. As a healer, sometimes you want to put like a sacred ground and you're like, oh, I don't know where I'm putting it. Or if you want to use a beacon on your friends that are in the second layer and you're in the bottom layer, you need to hit them direct hit in the body, otherwise that beacon goes to the sky. So anything that is
Yeah.
above you, if you are like a mage or a healer, it's extremely hard to connect.
Hmm. Oh yeah, bringing it back as well. I was saying the current event, Springtide Bloom. So it's it's decent crafting patterns. You get it, and you can make some PvP gear. So if you're a new or returning player, definitely go in and do some of the Springtide Bloom. If you are interested in PvP, you get those crafting patterns. And the Fury of the Spriggan event. Again, although the events are objectively boring, as a new or returning player, it is probably going to be a good one to jump in and farm to get some Angry Earth Bane and Angry Earth Ward gear, because that lets you get into Genesis, and Genesis is sort of like one of those. I mean, it used to be one of the easy mutations. I feel like these days people get destroyed by the first boss, man.
Yeah,
The guy with the
it's
walls
pretty rough.
just wrecks people, and the soldiers one-shot people. But anyway, yeah, farming the events, get some of the rewards. It is worthwhile, but hopefully the event design is going to be better in Season 2, man, because it has been a little bit underwhelming so far, I would say. A little bit underwhelming.
Another thing. Oh, I'm sorry, Derek. You were gonna say something.
Well, I was gonna like ask you about one of the topic as well, but if you wanted to elaborate on that, or something.
Are you still satisfied with the skins that they're bringing up, like every 2 months?
Honestly, I feel like the skins have gotten better. I really do, and I don't know. This was another thing as well. Fury, the Spriggan event. We were just talking about that. So Springtide Bloom ends on the 24th, or it ends on the 23rd, and the Fury of the Spriggan begins on the 24th. So that's like the dates to look out for on May, of course. And with that day as well, we do have some new skins coming in. I don't know if you get a chance to check them out, Trick, the medieval skins. I think those look pretty cool, man. And to be honest, the skins so far for season 1 and the season pass and the stuff we got in the store, I think the skins
pretty nice.
will be getting much better. Yeah. Finally, not some like weird, like, you know, it's like you just ran into a fabric shop and just like spun around and came out with a bunch of stuff on you. It's actually like, you know, looks pretty cool looking armor, I would say.
Funny enough, B, let's talk about the leaderboard skins. You remember how everybody used to hate the leaderboard skins? And then they were like, all right, we hear you. You guys hate the leaderboard skin. We're going to take the gold version and we're going to make it different. B, they made it worse.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. At least the freaking glow that the other armor had, at least even though it looked bad, having the glow means something. But now we have like a monotone piece of Voidbane combined with another Voidbane. I think that's what it is, like 2 Voidbane pieces, like medium and heavy combined into one. But it looks so underwhelming. It looks so weak. If it doesn't look, honestly, man, it's not a good skin to show off. It's like you show a M10, you know, gold run, like world record, and you put it next to the season 1 skins that we just bought with the Imperial Forge. We're like, oh my god, look at that skin from the Imperial Forge. It looks amazing. It has flaming, you know, going through it, and then you look at the skin, it's like all boring, you know, with like shitty colors, and it doesn't make any sense. And they only give you like the top. They don't even give you like pants or boots to you know, it's not even a full set. It's just like a chest piece that doesn't match with anything.
One thing that I think would be nice with the skins as well, I would like to see them make a change, is the leaderboard skins are like sufficiently different depending on your category. Like I feel like the fact that the Outpost Rush wins leaderboard skin looks very similar to like the Depths M10 score. Like I wish the skins were like different, you know, like they reflected what you're doing.
Exactly. Like if you close 1,000 portals, you should have like a corrupted looking skin, right? If you do the Genesis world record, you should have some greenery, some Genesis looking skin, right? Nope, there's you do 1 million OPRs, it's the same skin as if you close 1,000 portals. I mean, why would it be different?
What is red? Yeah, dude.
Even the cape is boring. It's just a flat collar with a dumb symbol in the center. All right, the symbols are dumb. Is a freaking hourglass, and the other one, I don't even know what it is. It's like a trophy, right? It's like the challenge.
Yeah, it's like, and the rewards are objectively like that's the thing you want, right? So it's the fact that the reward is so I don't know, man. It went to all this effort getting the leaderboards in and delayed it several times. They're like, right, leaderboards are finally here, and look what you can win. And you're like, oh wow, you shouldn't have, Amazon. Like,
no, you shouldn't have.
You shouldn't have, dude.
And the
I don't know, man. Again, fingers crossed. Season 2, we see that skin game is getting better. A new season is always a good time to introduce a new set of skins, right? So maybe it's on the docket, especially if we're gonna get like ranked PvP at some point in the future and stuff, and cross server queuing is gonna make things more competitive. So Yeah, we'll try and keep it positive where we can, but man, it's a symbiotic. But no, what's the word? It symbolizes New World in a lot of ways. Where the leaderboard skins are copy paste, the events are copy paste. Like, come on, let's get some original content. We know you guys can do it. You know, it's possible. Just want to see it, dude. Just want to see it.
Wouldn't you be proud running around with a Genesis medalist title?
Yeah, but that's true. The titles are pretty cool. Yeah, I do like my titles.
Yeah, the medalist.
Oh man. All right, Trick. Here's a wild card topic coming out of a left field here that I've seen some people talking about recently. So kind of unrelated to New World, but at the same time, a few days ago we got an announcement. There's another MMO because apparently Amazon is just like, we want all the MMOs, dude.
Yeah, all of them.
Lost Ark, Throne of Liberty, Blue Protocol, New World. Like, they just want all of them. They've got another one, and they're developing this one. It's a Lord of the Rings MMO. It's using the same game engine that New World does, and it's using some of the New World dev team to develop it as well. What are your thoughts? Are you excited? Are you indifferent? Some people are saying that, you know, oh, this is a bad sign for New World. It's a good thing for New World. I don't know. You got any thoughts on it, Trick?
Honestly, it's how can I don't think it will impact New World negatively in any sort of manner, right? I don't think that they would just go let New World die. And just because they're using some devs, I'm pretty sure that they're using like the most experienced dev. They're not using like the, all right, we're getting all these devs and moving from one team to another. You know, it's just probably like, you know, just so they can have, because some of these devs have been with New World for a very long time and they have learned a lot of lesson. And if we can get all of this lesson learned and apply it into the Lord of the Rings so they don't make the same mistakes that they went with New World, and I think that is overall is a good thing. And by making, obviously it's not going to be the same thing. So whoever says it's the same developers, it's not. That's crazy. They're just going to have a completely different team than the New World. They might have some developers, you know, be in both, but mostly all these developers are going to be like overseeing everything that is happening. It's not the actual people working, because how the hell are you going to have a developer working in 2 games? Like, how many hours do their day have? You know what I mean? You finish and
it's two MMOs as well. Like, they're not small games by any means.
Exactly. So it's gonna be a different team. I think it's going to have a better release in New World if they obviously apply the things that they have learned from New World, and also New World can learn from Lord of the Ring. You know, just because it's an MMO does not mean that it has to have all of the same systems and all the same features, right? So maybe they add something different to the Lord of the Ring that the community likes, and they could implement the same thing or similar to New World. And because they have all their MMOs in their name doesn't mean that they're actually working on it. It just means that they are, you know, running those, you know, in their engine, in the servers. But actively working in 2 MMOs, I think that it'll be cool. We can see how AGS as a company as a whole, because their previous titles hasn't been very good. I think we have like Crucible that they tried to work on it. That was a complete fail. That didn't make it.
Yeah.
And then they had probably like another game or maybe 2 more games that they were working on, but it was also they didn't make it. So let's hope. I mean, hopium, right? It's all about hopium. That it will be, because there's no reason to be negative right now. There's enough negativity going around New World and AGS right now. So everybody's trying to look under the carpet to see all of the dirty stuff they can find. Instead, we should start focusing on the good things that they could add into the game. Just keep a positive mindset at least about this. First of all, the game is not coming anytime soon. There's like a bunch of years.
Like at least 3 years, but probably more. Dude.
More. Yes, it's nowhere near close. By the time the Lord of the Ring comes out, Hopium or Encopium, whatever you want to call it, New World might be a complete banger. You know, finally New World got out of the beta stage, and we can actually finally start playing the game maybe in like 2 years from now, and maybe 2-3 years from now, you know, New World will have such a solid community and player base that we really don't care if other MMOs are being made out there. Because even though a lot of new games are coming out, I don't think New World will die. Everybody's like, oh, when Lost Ark comes out, New World is dead. No, it didn't. Everybody's like, oh, when Diablo comes out, New World is dead. No, it isn't. And when Blue Protocol comes out, it's not going to be dead either. And then we have Ashes of Creation coming in like 15 years from now. We have the freaking League of Legends MMO that is probably coming for, I don't know, sometime in the near future in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a while as well. I think the next nearest MMOs to come out is
Throne
Throne
and
and Liberty.
Liberty,
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure. Which again, I also think is gonna be pretty different from New World.
Yeah,
Like you think that's gonna be a
exactly.
replacement for New World, it's not gonna feel the same
Not
at all.
even,
It's
not
gonna be-
even. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be it. It's not gonna be
Not
it.
saying that's not gonna be a good game. I don't know, but it's not gonna be New World. I think if New World released, if the current version of New World that we have now, like if Season 1 was the beginning of New World, man, things would be so much like New
Ooh,
World's
bro.
reputation and everything would be so much better if we got to
Insane.
start where we started now. So yeah, dude,
100%.
it would be way better. Also, I've seen people. I mean, again, maybe this is like hopium, some wild speculation, but Amazon did announce that this Lord of the Rings MMO, although it is using the same game engine as New World, they do want to publish it on PC and console. So you maybe have to jump through some hoops, do some mental gymnastics, but if they do want to publish an MMO onto console using the same game engine as New World, you could then say backwards and go like, well, they could then also put New World on console as well. I imagine right now in the current state, people are like, lol, there's no way that could happen. But again, we think about it in the future. Like, think about how much better New World might be 2 years from now. And a console release for New World would be a whole bunch of players that haven't experienced the game before. And they get to experience the game with the improvements, not the messy release that we got. So
Right.
I think there's definitely some positivity to take from this.
A lot of people are playing New World on Steam decks. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've been thinking about getting one myself, man. Just if nothing else, just to go and like, you know, just gather some resources or whatever. Just
Exactly.
chilling.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I was at work today and I gathered 25,000 freaking fiber. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. You know, you just
Think
look at
about
this
how many springtide flowers you could gather on the Steam Deck,
millions. All of them, B. All of them.
dude.
One more thing. What do you think about the community whenever AGS involved the community into like an event, like the RTA thing? The RTA was both good and bad, but I think
Yeah.
overall it brought a lot of people back into the game. Do you think that they should be focusing on another community event like that?
Yeah, I don't know if Zino's still here. I saw him talking about it with the creator program and,
Right.
that event and stuff. I think yeah, I don't know, man. Return to Eternum was like, it was fun, but it did also feel like it was some sort of weird social experiment at the same time.
It
To like
was.
see how long you could get people to do the same tasks before they go insane and like eat each other or something like that. I think in general though, more events like that are community events are cool. I think like when you go into the PTR and you see the devs like flying around and spawning stuff, it's fun actually.
It's fun.
I
Very fun.
wish the GMs would show up in the servers more often, just on live and just kind of like goof around and stuff. I know people would be like, "Well, shouldn't they be developing the game?" But it's it's not always the same.
No,
It's not
plus-
like that. It's not like these people will have like they're not the same as people who would like be coding or whatever. Sometimes just a community manager.
Exactly.
Yeah, man, I'd be down. I'm excited to see. I assume there's probably going to be a bunch of sponsored like marketing and stuff with the expansion. Heck, maybe even with the raid. This is like one thing. It leads into another thing. I need to go like cook some food soon. But yeah, let's segue this in real quick because this is interesting concepts. Sandworm raid is coming up. Crossover, like a lot of exciting content is coming up. Mounts and a lot of this new weapon. The idea is they'll go to the PTR, right? Because this is what's happened so far. We put things on the PTR, they test them, they get feedback, and then it comes out to live later on. One of the problems that I'm having with this Fury of the Spriggan event is I can't get excited for it, Trick, because I already did it like 2 months ago. I played it ages ago, and I've seen everything that's already is to come. So sometimes I feel like it ruins the surprise. I don't know. Do you share that at all? Do you think that they need to keep some stuff off the PTR? Or?
100%. 100%. Not everything should be sent into the PTR. Because if everything is sent to the PTR, you only tell me one thing, is that you have nobody testing your things. If you cannot have a dedicated team to test and polish something that is very little, that is like, for example, the event related things. You don't need a server with, of real people testing that thing. If you want to test that everything is working, you can test it with your team, right? If you want to stress test it, then you spam 1,000 bots around the area. You don't really need to put it in the PTR. Why? Because nobody is looking to find a way to like exploit this event. Like how will people exploit this Spriggan to get more rewards? So some of these events are now like exploitable in a sense that people will take such a great advantage of it that you need to put it out there to see if somebody will find a way to exploit it, because it does ruin that what is the word that I'm looking for? Whenever
like the first time like specialness, I don't know.
like the hype, you know, you lose the hype. And if you have small events like this that people can have to go and test it for you, so tell you, hey, the event is good. You know how many times I need to do that in like a span of like a week or 2 weeks? By the time the event actually comes out, they're like, all right, yeah, I don't want to do the event. I know the reward sucks. It's not even worth doing, and I already told all of my homies that the event sucks, so they're probably not gonna do it either. So yes, when it comes to events, probably they should keep that to themselves. The thing that they should have us testing are like game-changing mechanics and game-changing features, right? Or like if you add in a new crafting system, obviously this needs to be tested by 1 million players. If you add in a new combat system, this needs to be tested by everybody. But if you add in a new skirt that you need to, you know, go through a jumping puzzle, you don't need everybody testing the jumping puzzle, because by the time the jumping puzzle comes out, it's no longer a puzzle.
What about the zone transform? So in the expansion, they said they're gonna, rather than add a new zone, they're gonna take an existing zone, transform it, make it look completely different. Do you think that should be on the PTO?
No, it shouldn't be. I mean, if you cannot, it's just a revamp. Like, how much testing? How many real people do you need testing it? You know, the zone. Just get. The thing is, even if they have players testing these zones, problem with the zone happen all the time. Look at First Light. First Light has like a puddle of water in the middle of the road. You have flying trees, you have torches in the air in the middle of the road. So everything changes like every 2 weeks, and maybe by the time they add the next event, the whole map changes, because it goes back again to whenever they add something else breaks in the back, right? So sometimes we're like, all right, please test this for us, and we test it, we do 1 million of reports, and then they're like, all right, we fixed whatever was broken, and then 2 weeks later it comes back, the same thing that it was broken. Like, how, bro? I thought you fixed it. You know, and then it makes you think that they just put band-aid on things, you know, and they don't ever go to the root of the problem. But once again, we're not coders, you know, we don't code, we don't know how the problem even happens to begin with. So the best thing that we can say is like, I don't know how things happen, man. We just don't know how things happen.
Yeah,
we just don't know.
All right, well, Rick, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's a good point to end it on, but I think I gotta go make some food.
And to end it in a positive note, we should be very, very happy and very excited about the gear changes that are happening. And regardless of what the community say, New World right now, it's much better than it has been in a very, very long time when it comes to both content and performance. Except for the performance, a little, you know, wobbly right now, but it'll get there. You know, pretty much every weapon is balanced. Fire staff does not need a nerf, and flamethrower does not need a cooldown. Please stop saying that. All right, the weapon was useless for the weapon was useless for 2 years, and
I want to make it musket level. That's what I want to see. Put it down there with the musket, bury it, kill it, Trick.
Oh my god. Which, by the way, musket is not dead. You know what is dead? People play musket from 100 meters away. The people that are playing medium range musket, they can still 3-tap you, and they won't miss a shot from like 30-40 meters. They were like, musket is dead. No, your playstyle, the rat playstyle, what was ruining the game and was ruining the fun of people, that is what doesn't exist anymore. Because the musket player, for them, it was fine sitting 100 meters away. They never saw the problem with that. They never, it's like, oh, I don't see a problem. Of course you don't. You are the problem. You know, of course you don't see it. So they obviously got upset. It's like, musket is dead. No. Musket is not dead. That playstyle is dead. And that playstyle, first of all, should have never been in the game. Look now. How many bows are doing what the muskets were doing? You look at OPR and you have like 30 freaking people outside of the forts just shooting arrows blindly inside of the fort. And they're not winning any games because they just want to sit back and pew from a distance. That is unhealthy for the game. So anyways, the game is better now. The new gear that is coming is an awesome idea, AGS. The gear's not getting wiped. And and I will say the game is going in a great direction. With it, raids
Yeah, I
that we-
agree, man.
yeah, 100%.
I'm excited. Season 2, Season 3, I'm big
Yes.
excited, dude. I'm looking forward to
Big.
the raids. The boss fights have been getting better every time. Like Imperial
Oh,
Forge boss fights are
good.
cool, dude. I'm sure the sound one's gonna be awesome. It's gonna have a
Yeah.
banging soundtrack and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. And man, the expansion, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be big hype, dude. It's gonna be big hype. I
Oh.
understand people's trepidations and concerns or whatever, but I think every 6 months you look back at how was New World 6 months ago from how it is now, and it's
Yeah.
like generally it's either much better or it's significantly better. So I think it has been a little bit slow, honestly, since Brimstone Sands, but I think it's 'cause
Transmogs.
they're preparing, dude. They're yeah.
Transmog
Yeah,
is season
Transmog as
2.
well.
You know how many people are gonna spend hundreds and hundreds of hours just trying to collect? Even though even though Transmog is not really content, it gives them people another reason to continue and replay the game. Now you will see a
Yeah.
bunch of level 60 fucking doing Ambrine because they just want to go and get the Ambrine set, you know? And people are going to go over the world finding different pieces of armors. You're gonna see people running around. So Transmog is gonna add a lot of replayability. When the mounts come out, that's gonna be amazing as well. We have cross servers OPRs. That means that you probably don't need to transfer servers to be able to enjoy, you know, OPRs and arenas. And the raid is coming out, which is more PvE content. So all we need is probably a little bit of PvP content, because cross server is not content. That is just a quality of life. That is really not content, and they cannot sell that as content because it isn't, right?
Yeah.
But they'll get there. They're definitely getting better.
Yeah, I think so too, man.
Yeah.
All right. It was a good talk, Mr. Trick.
Yeah, it was a great talk as always. B. Oh, by the way, you think they're gonna charge for transmog, or is it gonna be free?
Oh, they got to charge for it, 100%, dude. It gives me
$5.
5 transmog tokens, $5. Yeah, dude.
Boom, baby.
And yeah, dude, make that money, Amazon. Go on, dude. Sell us more gear slots. I'll do it. I'll buy them. I'm desperate.
But the
Please.
expansion should be free. The expansion should be free,
Yeah,
right?
no, expansion free, but just monetize everything else.
Monetize everything, yeah.
Either way, monetize it. All right, dude. It was a good talk. Once again, guys, if you want to support the show, wherever you're watching, listening to this, make sure you leave a like or subscribe or rate, review, comment, whatever the system is, wherever you're listening. We'll be back at some point in the future to talk about New World again. Maybe closer to season 2, maybe with a PTR to get a look at some season 2 stuff. But thank you, Trick, for the talk, man. It was good.
Always a pleasure, Mr. Baggins.
Goodbye, good sir.
Goodbye, sir.